Here
I like
we
the sport
go.
this week. I always like the sports, right? But this is a good sport, Paul. Come up with a good
It's
one.
time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. And we are live today on Wednesday. I know we're confusing all of you. Live on Wednesday, um, March 20th. And do you know today is going to be the first full day of spring?
Today? Is it today or
Yeah,
tomorrow?
no,
I,
today it started at 11:09 last night.
no kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
I looked it
Here,
all up.
oh, boy, there's our the meteorology today was brought to you by Karen Hale.
Very
The
good,
weather
very
person
good.
and all the other things she does on What in the World. Hey, everybody. Boy, I got stuff popping up on my screen all over the place here. Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you, Carol, for Carol.
You are
Carol,
welcome.
Carol, what
I don't know what you're even talking about right now.
something things that keep popping up on the screen here. Okay, it's me, Paul Seaburn, the host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That is our motto. We try to come here every week, either in your ear or on YouTube on Tuesdays at 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time. But we're here on Wednesday today. The It is the first day of spring, although it doesn't align with midnight to midnight. But Karen, I'm sure could explain that if we gave her enough time to do that. But we're not going to do that because we
No,
got.
I think we have to go to the meteorologist to do that.
All right, so that if you're listening in, that first voice you heard in your ear is Karen Hale, the media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our producer and co-host, all around great person. She is she has a ton of podcasts at newclevelandradio.net. So that's the place to go to find out how to download us for free, as always. Make sure you follow the link to YouTube because we do have some photos that go along with many of our stories, and we always try to describe those photos to those of you who are listening to us while you're exercising or in the bathroom or wherever it is you listen to it. That's probably a more appropriate place. The but later on, after you're finished, go check us out on YouTube because you get to see my old buddy John Dinallo, host of What in the World of Sports with John Dinallo, our color commentator, our trivia guy, and all around great guy. Hey, John, how you
Hey,
doing?
I'm doing well, Paul. Thanks again. And hi, Karen. And it is Wednesday, but it is still a quality day for a quality podcast. So just remember that.
Whoa. Well, he's our
I'm
cheerleader.
going to marketing school, yeah. Good job, John. Thank you, Karen. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
No, I was just saying he's our cheerleader.
Boy, no kidding. Yeah, he's really he's our salesman. We need to go drum up some more business for us, John. No, but not right, not at the moment. At the moment, we need you here to help us out. We've got some great stories this week. Let's see. We need to do a shout out to Panther City lacrosse men's lacrosse team. Hey, how are
Yep.
you guys doing? Hang in there. Things are going to get better. They're having a rough patch, but if you like lacrosse, tune in to the Panther City men's lacrosse team. They're in a professional league. You can pick up their games on all the major networks.
ESPN Plus.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Also some sports information from our meteorologist there. The so, but I tuned into it. I knew a little bit about lacrosse. Now I'm in love with lacrosse. So and the team is friends of our show, so we like to give them a sports plug. The Dallas Wings, I just saw them in the news. I guess the women's our favorite women's basketball team is going to be playing pretty soon. So
Very soon. Yep.
Yeah, good
that's
for
always
them. Hope they do
yeah.
well.
Yep.
And our sports guy John has his Cleveland Guardians hat on because spring training is almost over. I believe the Guardians named Shane Bieber as their starting pitcher again for 5 years in a row. So all kind of sports, but we don't want to spoil John's segment there. We've got a lot of we got a great sport as he was mentioning at the beginning of the show. Plus, I've got a couple of weird sports myself. So let's take a look at what are we going to be talking about here today. Loch Ness Monster news. We've got photos of what are described as the best photos ever taken of the Loch Ness Monster, plus a controversy that is raging through Scotland about the Loch Ness Monster and whether it's a he or a she. So, I never thought I'd be talking about genders with the Loch Ness Monster, but what in the world? That's the name of our show. That's what we're going to be talking about. A strange electricity generator, courtesy of your dad's bar. So if your dad had a bar, and I mean a home bar, down in the basement or in his man cave. Our dads didn't have man caves when we grew up. They had garages.
That's a good way to describe it, Paul.
There's an Area 51 in Thailand. We're going to talk about that. How spring break became a big deal. A lot of kids are on spring break right now. We've got a story from New Orleans in spring break. Giant blueberries. This was a big story on Facebook this week. And their hill. We're going to find out about their hill, that famous Blueberry Hill. An all-natural towing service from Ukraine. Plus, we got some more odd news. We got trivia. We got sports. So let's get right to it. We've got at the end of every show, we've got Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. So let's get started with Scotland. I hinted about this last week that I was going to have a big story about the Loch Ness Monster. And this is not one, but two. So the first one, we've talked about this lady. The first is the scandal. Despite the fact that the only way to make a baby Loch Ness Monster is for a mama Loch Ness Monster and a daddy to really love each other, and then to get drunk and go up on the bank, whatever it is we have no photos of it. However, the Loch Ness Monster is always referred to as Nessie, and Nessie is a female name. So, and I know I have referred to her as she, the Loch Ness Monster. She does this, and she was seen here, and yet, everybody kind of assumes that most, if not all of them, are she's. Even the Loch Ness visitation site in Scotland, in Inverness, refers to Nessie as a she. So. The problem is, I went to look for some photos to see if I could tell from the photos that we look at on the show, and I've got some more coming up later. But if I could see if it was a male or a female. John, do you remember any photos that I've ever shown of the Loch Ness Monster where you could tell the gender?
I'm going to have to say no, Paul and Karen, because I think every photo of the Loch Ness Monster that I have seen is only the maybe top half of the monster, right? You never see anything lower than, right? I mean, well, I know it's pretty obvious, okay, but no, and that brings an interesting point here. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but a lot of times when you see the Loch Ness Monster, okay, you see the monster from like midsection up or whatever, right? You've had a couple of things though, Paul, where you just try to like see these little dots or whatever. It's almost getting to be Sasquatch like, almost a Bigfoot like, in the sense of I have to offer that. Sorry, but I do have a very strong affinity to the Loch Ness Monster. When I was growing up, I actually studied the Loch Ness Monster. For some reason, it really became a phenomenon for me or whatever. And as you can see, I haven't done anything with it, okay, in terms of my study. But I was always interested in it. I was always it's kind of weird though, right? I mean, no
kidding. This is True Confession. John Donallo on True Confession.
That's right. I'm finally giving it up after all these years.
Well, okay. I have a present for you, John, because I have two photos that will show you what sex the Loch Ness Monster really is. Get ready.
Okay.
Get ready for this. Let's see. Here's I need to share screen. What do I have to do here? Oh, here we go. Okay, there's our logo. Okay, here's the first one here, John. Now,
Oh,
this
yeah, right.
what we have here is a Loch Ness monster with, I would say, very large protuberances from her chestal area. I sound like Beavis and
Well,
Butthead.
that's about as clinical as you can make it, Paul. That's about as clinical as you can make it, Paul and Karen. What do you think? Wow, look at that. Well,
I-
I,
Go
well,
ahead.
I'm kind of flabbergasted in a way because I don't know if I can make a comment on that because I'm not really sure if that's a real photo or a real drawing.
I don't think it's a photo at all.
Artificial intelligence. Well, if this is real, I'm telling you, she's hot. She she looked like Barbie had sex with the creature from the Black Lagoon. That's what
Yeah.
this looks like.
I don't know. You would think that how she looks here that she'd have a crowd around her anyway. I have to say that. I mean,
Like if Godzilla had sex with Pamela Anderson, that's what she looks like here.
Ah,
oh
yeah.
my,
I've got one more.
wow.
I've got one more. Here we go. Look at this one.
Oh, my
Now,
goodness.
isn't she beautiful and also well defined.
Yeah.
In addition to her chestal area,
Yeah.
she's got biceps that put and the thigh. Look at the thighs on this one here. She looks like if if Nessie looked like this, we would have found her already. That's the thing.
Yes, someone would have. Someone would have.
Obviously,
Lord.
you're not watching on YouTube, and we always ask, why aren't you watching us on YouTube? These are artificially generated, artificial intelligence drawings of the Loch Ness monster. We really don't have any that show their sex. But however, the controversy is because of a book that just came out by an American author. Her name is Lana Ferguson, and she's I can't believe I'm just going to say that she had written a romance novel about the Loch Ness monster. It's called Under Lock and Key, and the key part is because the star is Kiana K. McKay, who's a Scottish lass who travels to Scotland, and she meets a guy named Lachlan Greer. And I have a photo of the cover, and you'll understand why that's controversial here. So there's a cover of Under Lock and Key. Now you can see there's a handsome young man kissing her hand. She's standing on the shore. He's wearing kilts, the universal sign that he's Scottish. But take a look. Take a look underneath him at his reflection in the water.
It looks like a monster.
Doesn't it? It looks like the shadow of the Loch Ness monster.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Now, so what they're saying is, although the book isn't out yet, it comes out in December. They're saying that she's implying that this may be the Loch Ness monster turning into a man, and that it's a male, obviously. So, and trying to seduce her. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if she has to kiss him to, if she kissed him first to turn him from the monster into the man, like the frog prince or something like that. Because
Like the prince becomes, the frog turns into a prince. Sure.
Yeah. And I'm just so the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, because we talk about the Loch Ness monster so often, is maybe if she knew about it and she was getting ready for it, she was going around kissing logs, to practice, because she didn't know what he really looked like.
Wow. Practice makes perfect.
Now, the other question I have is that if the Loch Ness monster is a man, we need to have a male name for him instead of Nessie. So I'm thinking, what names would go? How about Nestor?
Okay.
That's a pretty masculine name. I would say it's a masculine name, Nestor.
How about Nesbit? Nesbit? No.
No.
How about Nestle? The chocolate Loch Ness monster.
Get some votes there, Paul. You get some votes with that one.
So I've got my order in already on Amazon. As soon as the book comes out, I will get a copy of it, and I'll read it. We can talk about it on the show. So anyway, and this is, I am not kidding. This is a huge scandal in Scotland right now. I read a number of newspaper and internet articles about the scandal and how people are just so offended that that Nessie is a man here. So they're mad at Americans, of course, because it's an American novelist. Well, I'm mad because somebody is writing romance novels about the Loch Ness monster. Let's get back to it's going to sound political. Let's get back to one man, one woman, not one woman, one monster.
Yes, I agree with you.
Really?
All right, enough of that, because we just the whole reason why we weren't here yesterday is because it was election day, and we're not talking about elections anymore. Now, second Loch Ness monster story. So this one, John is and Karen and everybody out there is about the real monster. So a sighting of the Loch Ness monster is being called, and the photos that the lady took, they're being called the most exciting Loch Ness photos ever taken. Loch Ness monster. Lady's name is Chie Kelly, and she actually took them in 2018, but she was afraid to release them because she didn't want people to make fun of her. Well, they're pretty good photos. Here's one here. Now this one's not so hot, but they get better. So she took 71 photos. Her and her husband were sitting at a restaurant on the shore of Loch Ness, eating lunch, and they saw something in the water. So I'm thinking, if that were me, first thing I would do is, make sure I'm not hallucinating from some kind of weird Scottish food, some haggis or something. But she said, no, they weren't hallucinating. And she proved it by grabbing her camera. And she used a real camera, a Canon, single-edge reflex kind of camera, not a cell phone. And she took this photo. She took this photo right here, which is a little better, a little clearer. Yeah. So she said it was 200 meters off the bank, moving right to left at a steady speed. She said it was spinning and rolling at times. So I'm thinking, okay, well, could that be a sign of the sex? If it's spinning and rolling, maybe it was twerking. If it's twerking, it's probably a female, assuming that the Loch Ness monster twerks. Otherwise, maybe it's a male, and he smashed his fin on a rock or something, and he's shaking and spinning and swearing, and that's what I spend my time doing, imagining what the Loch Ness monster is thinking.
Wow.
So here's another one here. Now this is a longer photo here. She said that she admitted, and this is for you, John. She must have been listening to the show. She said, we never saw a head or a neck, but after a couple of minutes of it moving, it disappeared, and they never saw it again. So before I say what people think it is, you saw 3 photos there, John. And she the reason why this is in the news again is because she released all 71 this week. So it was on a podcast. I'm not going to show all 71. They all look basically like that. What do you think? Did that look like anything to you?
Yeah, it's in the world, comparing it to like what we've seen with the Bigfoot and Sasquatch and whatever. I think it's more possible, but again, unfortunately, can't really define it. I think that's the mystique to the Loch Ness monster. The mystique.
Yeah. Oh, very good. That's right. So, Karen, you're looking at it, and does it do anything?
I've been looking at it intently. I mean, it almost looks like it could be something other than a log, but I don't think it's a monster. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's the monster.
Go. Okay. All right. Well, those are two people looking at it that have seen these photos before. The people who in Scotland who looked at it said it might be a gar or a catfish, and we know that there's giant catfish that live in Loch Ness. It doesn't look like a catfish to me. They also said that it was considerably smaller than they would expect the Loch Ness monster to be, and some people thought it was an otter, also a creature that lives in Loch Ness. I don't know. Looking at that, it doesn't look like an otter to me. It looks like a couple of rocks. I like the catfish thing though, because if the Loch Ness monster really is real, and since we just talked about the romance novel, there's a big thing going on in dating now called catfishing, which is where you pretend to be something that you're not, and you put that in your dating profile. So maybe that's what the Loch Ness monster is doing. Loch Ness monster is catfishing as a catfish, as a real catfish, because he doesn't understand what the program is.
Art
I don't.
imitates life. Art imitates life, I think, folks, right? Hey, there you go.
That's right. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to another paranormal subject here. A couple of good paranormal stories on what in the world. This one has to do with aliens. So we talked about Area 51, the famous uh, uh, base in New Mexico, where there's alleged bodies of aliens and crashed UFOs in the United States. There's also an Area 51 in Thailand, and that's where we're going to. It's in Khao Kala, and I've talked about this place before. There was a guy, his name was Sergeant Major Churd, and I'm not going to pronounce his last name because it's many, many letters long. But he said he received mental images from messages from extraterrestrials back in 1997, and it had such an impact on him that he built, and it was on this hill in Thailand, that he built a shrine, a Buddhist shrine, because he was Buddhist and they were hovering over a Buddha statue when he saw them, and it's become a big sighting area for aliens at in Thailand. So here's a photo. Here's some people who are visiting the base, Area 51. There's the Buddhist statue that he saw the aliens over. He said that they were in the Milky Way Federation. So the reason why we're talking about this is because this week they had a festival called Belief Fest. We used to say if you didn't have pictures, it's not real. Now, if you don't have a festival, it's not real. So they had a festival, Belief Fest, what year is this? 2024.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So they've got some pictures of the aliens. Here's a picture of aliens from one of the presentations that they gave there. Now those two aliens look kind of like the alien grays that we talk about, except there's some kind of antenna sticking out of their head. Do you see that, John and Karen?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, I do.
Not sure what that is. These are supposedly people from the planet Loku. So I don't know what that Locutions or God, I think I'm allergic to them. Oh, Punatics. Yeah, I think I better change the picture here. So, but the best part of this festival is people getting dressed up like aliens. So here's a photo of some of the people doing alien impressions while they're buying souvenirs. Look at the marketplace that they had at this festival. There's booth. It's like a state fair in the United States, and people dressed up like aliens with full head to toe in gray, with the hoods on and the heads, buying little alien dolls and alien food. They had alien food there. I tried to find a picture of the alien food, but I couldn't find any. So we got alien food. What else did they? So I think I've got another photo here. There we go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, look at these. I like the two in the middle. The other ones have regular alien heads. The two in the middle look like they have goat's heads or something. I don't know what planet they're from. And so anyways, they're all out there plugging away and buying stuff. One of the thing that I like though is one of the presentations said that these people are all wrong. They said that the actual aliens from Loku they're more like crocodiles, which scares the heck out of me because if they look like crocodiles, I know we look like crocodile food, and that's not what we want coming to visit us. So anyway, so that's Belief Fest. This is the first one, so we'll be talking about it again next year when it happens again. Okay, let's go to Hong Kong. Now, this is the bar story. So these scientists, this tells you what scientists do in their spare time. Scientists in Hong Kong and China have developed an engine that's almost a perpetual motion machine. And they did it using something that they found in a bar. And it's something that my dad had in his bar. John, your dad may have had one of these himself.
Sure.
There it is. It's called the drink. Karen, maybe even your dad had one.
No.
The drink. Have you ever seen one of these?
No.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, I wish I had. A bird. It's like a pencil with a bird's head on the top of it between
Right.
two bird legs. And what you would do is you would put it next to a glass of a liquid, either beer, or if you don't want to waste your good beer on a toy, it's some water, and you dunked his head in, or her head, and from that point on, it would stand up straight all by itself, and then eventually it would put its head back into the drink and get another drink, and it was all by itself. So up and down and up and down. It was the drinking
Yeah.
bird toy.
Remember those, Paul? I do. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. This is how popular they were. Look at there's at least
Wow.
8 or 9 or 10 different, almost a dozen different kinds of drinking birds here. So these scientists, they told their bosses that they came up with this machine using these things, which I think was just a way of covering up the fact that they went out to the bar and padded their expense report. Now they got to explain it somehow. But the they claim that they've rigged it so that it generates 100 volts and can run for days on 6 tablespoons of water, which I'm sure you're supposed to measure while your hand's still steady, not after you've been drinking. If they had these things when we were in science class, John, I would have studied a lot harder.
Yeah. It's motivation. Well, sure, of course.
But if they had these things in our science classes, that would mean that our science teachers were probably drinking between classes.
I'm sure they were.
You can only infer that, Paul and Karen. You can only infer that.
No, man. Now maybe in high school, I know a couple of the priests were rumored to be to imbibing between class. But by the time we got to college, that was already in the 70s, and our teachers were all stoned. They were not drinking it. But just to show how serious the science behind this was, the drinking bird was invented. Well, where's my trivia horn here? I forgot to drag it out here. There we go. The trivia horn was invented by a scientist from Bell Laboratories in 1947.
Wow.
His name was Miles Sullivan, and he got a patent for it. There's a patent for this. He got the patent in 1946. Rumor has it that Oppenheimer, everybody knows who Oppenheimer is now because of the movie. Rumor has it that Oppenheimer was a rival of this guy, and he was working on his own drinking bird toy when the patent was filed. So he got mad and he decided to build a nuclear bomb, and he was going to show him. So that's what inspired Oppenheimer, according to the rumor. Now, you'd have to check that out. Anyways, so while we're on the subject of being stoned, let's talk about spring break. So this story comes from New Orleans, which apparently is a big spring break spot nowadays. So officials at the New Orleans Police Department, when they're not arresting spring breakers, they said that the marijuana in the evidence room at their headquarters in downtown New Orleans was being eaten by rats. So somehow rats got into the evidence room, and apparently they had a lot of marijuana in the evidence room. Go figure. And the rats were eating it, which is why it disappeared. At least that's what they want you to believe. So if it were rats eating the marijuana, they were easy to spot because they were the ones on Bourbon Street lifting up their tiny little T-shirts for
Yeah.
So the police chief actually gave a press conference on this, and he would have been a lot more believable. But every time a reporter asked a question, he referred to the reporter as dude. Like, dude, I'm telling you, the rats ate the roaches, man. So this all happened at the same time that there were a bunch of kids down in New Orleans for spring break. Now, John, what was the big spring break city when we were in college? Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember distinctly. Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yep.
Fort Lauderdale. That's right. That's where spring break actually started, officially started. in 1938. That's how far back goes. And for our sports guy, John, this is the perfect sports story. A swimming coach from Colgate University was looking for a place to train his swimmers, and they opened the first Olympic-sized swimming pool at the casino pool in Fort Lauderdale. It was called the casino pool. Must have been in a casino. Olympic-sized swimming pool. That was in 1936. In 1938, he took the school, 36, 37, and 38. He took the team down there every year, and they got so good that the place where it was located decided to hold a seminar and invite other college coaches to bring their teams down. So every year, they would invite in spring, they would invite swim teams to Fort Lauderdale. And, it's college kids. They're not wearing a whole lot of clothes. The sun's out. There's beer. They have a party. And it became so popular that other kids started hearing about it. And of course, other businesses in Fort Lauderdale started thinking, hey, we ought to be able to get in on this. So they started catering to college students to come down there during spring break, to the point that Fort Lauderdale became known as Fort Liquordale.
We've heard that more than once, Paul. We've heard that expression more than once, believe me.
Yes. Now, also to promote it, in 1960 or 61, there was a movie all about spring break. John, I'm not going to change. This was a tough one. I never would have got this one. The movie was called Where the Boys Are. Now, do you remember who sang?
Connie Francis.
Karen knows. Connie Francis, that's right.
Good, Francis. That's there, Karen. Good.
And George Hamilton, that's right. Starred Connie Francis, who also sang the theme song, George Hamilton, Dolores Hart, Paula Prentice, Yvette Mimieux, and Frank Gorshin, one of my all-time favorite impressionists. I don't know what the story was about spring break. That's all you really need to know. The song was Where the Boys Are by Connie Francis, written by John. You know who wrote Where the Boys Are?
I don't. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Connie Francis is still singing. The guy who wrote it, Neil Sedaka. Now.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
They actually participated in spring break in order to get into character. And they partied so much that Dolores Hart, after the movie was over, became a nun. True story. Dolores Hart Hollywood and became a nun. And I don't know if she was for a long time. I think she came to the Academy Awards a couple of times as a nun. Not like Sister Act. She was a real nun. Wow. And the yardstick, everything. So, but nobody goes to Fort Lauderdale anymore. That's not the big spring break city, from what I understand. Like Yogi Berra said, it got so popular, nobody came there anymore.
My understanding, Paul, is Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach is a haven now.
Daytona and Miami apparently as well, because the Miami police and the political leaders were telling kids not to come there, which is a real smart thing to do, to tell people, oh, don't come to Miami for spring break. Well, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to
go right to Miami. Sure.
Yeah. All right. So we got some world records here. First world record from the Czech Republic. This guy's name is Josef Salek. And he wore nothing but a pair of shorts to break the record for the fastest marathon barefoot on ice or snow. Ran a half marathon. That's 13 miles, 13.1 miles, half marathon, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Now, that's a pretty good time with clothes on pavement. He did it barefoot, wearing nothing but a pair of shorts on the snow. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Took another 2 hours for his Czech sausage to get its full size again. But he trained. This is the best part. He trained by soaking his feet in buckets of ice, which he said, it was cold, but it was still not as cold as his wife's feet when he gets into bed. Karen, this is for you. You know, Karen is our sponsor here at What in the World with Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. Karen, this guy's regular job is as a coach. He is a personal development coach, a therapist, and a lecturer. So we're issuing this challenge to you to see if you can run as fast as he can in the snow. What do you think? Can you do it?
I just can't hear you very well right now.
I think it would be called Yes I Can Freeze. That's what it
Yeah.
would be called.
No, I don't like the snow, so I'm not going to run
No.
in.
That's right. Okay. Well, I put this up on my Facebook page, and some people thought that this was in Cleveland, which is it could be because as many of you have listeners know, when we talk about Cleveland, one of the big things, as soon as the temperature gets above 33, 34, you'll see people all over Cleveland in their shorts and short sleeves, no coats. You know, it's like 34 degrees is summertime as far as they're concerned. So this guy looks like somebody I would bump into, you know, at the grocery store
Yeah.
or at the state parade.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not John or I, though. We wouldn't with it. We wait until it's nice and warm before we go out in our shorts.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So this was another popular story on Facebook. Costa Berries in New South Wales, Australia, has grown the world's heaviest blueberry. Here's a photo of it right there. Almost covers this guy's palm. That's how big it is. The Guinness World Record people certified it. It's a larger than a ping pong ball. Weighs in at 3/4 of an ounce. It was so big, Muffin Pants saw it and started crying. That's how big it is. It's so big they tried to make a smoothie out of it and the blender spit it out. That's how big.
Oh,
It's so big. It's so big. The grocery store ran a buy one get 100 free sale. It's it's so big. Over 50 people can use it to find their thrill.
on Blueberry Hill. Sure.
All right, John. That's an easy trivia question for you. Who's famous for Blueberry Hill?
That's Domino.
That's Domino. Now, so I thought there can't be trivia besides Fats Domino. Fats Domino's greatest hits was Blueberry Hill. Au contraire, that Fats Domino was not the first singer to sing Blueberry Hill. That song goes all the way back to 1940 when Sammy Kaye, whose name I recognize, he was a big band leader. He recorded the first recording of Blueberry Hill, an instrumental version of Blueberry Hill on RCA Victor Records. It was on an album called Swing and Sway with Sammy Kaye. Great name. After he did it, it was so popular, it was recorded by, get ready for this, for all you old timers on our show, the Glenn Miller Band recorded it. Jimmy Dorsey, another big band leader, recorded it. Gene Autry, probably many people's favorite cowboy singer, recorded a cowboy version of Blueberry Hill. Dennis Day performed it on the Jack Benny Show. That's how old we are here. We talking about on the radio. Yeah. And Louis Armstrong recorded it. All of those people had recordings of Blueberry Hill before Fats Domino said, "Hey, yeah, that sounds like a good song for me," and it became his number one hit. He never recorded another song as popular as Blueberry Hill. In spite of it being a big band song, it was like the number one rock and roll song. It's in Fats Domino's in the Rock Hall of Fame. That song is on the top 500 Rolling Stone best rock hits of all time. Was on the charts for 3 weeks.
Wow.
How about that?
Well,
Yeah,
if Glenn Miller recorded it, there had to be a bouncing ball.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You know who else? No, that was
That was Mitch Miller. Mitch Miller.
Mitch Miller, you're right. Sorry.
Mitch Miller also recorded it. I forgot. You know, I thought nobody's going to remember Mitch Miller, but thank you.
We used to watch that with my parents.
So
Sure.
did I.
I remember that well.
Sure. I'm certain that if they did it on the Mitch Miller show, it wasn't a bouncing ball. It was a bouncing blueberry. And on that,
Okay.
Let's move on to the story here. Also a musical story. So a new study found that listening to popular singers like Drake. Now this is for you kids out there. So we go from the 1940s to the 2010s. If listening to popular artists like Drake, Ariana Grande, Eminem, Billie Eilish, Beyonce, and Harry Styles can make you a better driver because it gives you greater levels of concentration to help identify hazards on the road faster. I don't listen. This is a picture of my radio. I don't.
Wow, there
I don't
you
think
go.
my radio picks up Billie Eilish or this is an picture of an old AM car radio that I know John and Karen and I have all had in our cars.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Brings back some memories, Paul. It really does. Wow.
Now, they also gave the worst songs to listen to while driving. Worst songs to listen to. This is more from our area. Mr. Sandman. John, Mr. Sandman, who sang that?
Oh, I know this.
Karen swaying to the music.
I can picture it, but I can't figure out who.
I can't pinpoint it.
The Cordettes. The Cordettes.
Okay.
I'm only sleeping. Another song. Don't listen to while you're driving. I'm only sleeping. John. Now you know.
No, you got me on this one too.
Yellow Submarine. The Beatles.
Beatles, yeah.
And the worst song to listen to while driving, Dream a Little Dream of Me by Mama Cass.
Mama Cass. All right. Oh boy. I had forgotten that.
Apologize for John. John, it appears that his Cleveland Guardians hat is on too tight today.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Something's not working right. That's for sure.
I know that you just put this is probably the first time John's worn it this season, so it has to conform to his head. So the next time he has it on, he'll be hot on the trivia here.
Well, make sure you have some good trivia questions for me. Paul. Do that. Yeah, right. There we go.
I jab all the way over on Zoom, all the way across Zoom there. Right. So I was thinking about this. This picture of this old radio is probably from the 1940s or 1950s. The first cars did not have car radios. And I'm thinking, how did you listen to to music while you're driving back like in the 1920s? Did you have to put a piano in the back seat and hire a player? The first car radio actually came out in 1922. Chevrolet put a Westinghouse radio in a car for the first time. And it wasn't very popular. It got a little more popular when they invented the extension cord, but still not very popular. So the first battery car radio in a car was a Motorola ST71, released in 1930. Now the best part of this is that they put it in a Model A, so that's a Ford Model A, 1930. A Ford Model A cost $540 without the radio. The option for the radio was another $130.
Wow.
So there's 25% more, 30% more just to have a radio in your car. In 1952, the first FM radio in cars came out from Blaupunkt, and I've owned a number of Blaupunkt radios. You guys probably have too. That was
I remember those. Sure, I remember them. Yeah.
All right, another popular story on Facebook. I'm not going to make it to my strongman story, I don't think here. So this one comes from Missouri. The City Museum in St. Louis, Missouri, set a Guinness World Record, and I'm going to put the photo up here for you to take a look at. 355 people gathered at the museum with their underwear in the wrong place. Where was it? It was on their heads.
My Lord.
Guinness World Record for the most people wearing underwear on their head. 355 people. I don't think this is what the founders of the state had in mind when they called it the Show Me State.
I would guess not. My gosh.
Yeah, here's another photo of them. standing there posing. I believe it looks like the one guy's holding a beer. I would have thought that other people were drinking as well. But if for people who didn't know how to wear the underwear on their heads, they brought some school bullies in to show them how to put underwear on their head. You remember what? I don't think you did that, John. You weren't a school bully, but
No,
and I think
wow.
wedgies were more popular back when we were going to.
Yes, they were.
So there were actually rules. The Guinness people had rules for breaking the record. It had to be clean underwear. So there were a bunch of single guys who couldn't participate in it because they didn't bring clean underwear.
Oh,
Now, Karen always asked, why on earth would they do something like this?
right.
They were
Why?
they were celebrating 314 Day. The area code for this particular part of St. Louis is 314. So this is what they do. They come up with weird records and they celebrate. They were also singing. They were singing YMCA. John,
Why the village people? Why the village people? Sure.
Yeah, there you go. So you can tell they're doing YMCA here.
Right,
a more appropriate song might have been Macho Man. Well, maybe not if you got your underwear on your head. Or possibly Where the Boys Are. I don't know. This museum, believe it or not, has another world record. It has the world record largest underpants in the world also on display. I believe they belonged to Kim Kardashian at one time.
Oh,
Okay. All right. One more world record here. So this is actually 3 world records for one guy. Dmitry Horunsky from Ukraine. God bless the Ukrainians. With war going on, this guy had time to set 3 world records. So here's the first one. Here he is right here. He's 35 years old. He performed all of these world records in the same day. So he has a nice long beard here that we have a photo of. His first record, the heaviest vehicle pulled by your beard. So you can see he's got a chain and a some sort of pulley, tow thing attached to his beard. The other end is attached to a minivan, and he pulled that minivan, a 5,687 pound minivan. I think he had to pull it for 15 meters, something like that. So got the world record. He was also made honorary member of ZZ Top. His beard was
something just
I bet you his beard was longer after the record was done than it was before. Yeah, I know.
I wonder if when he did that stunt, was it painful for him?
This is the second time he did it. Believe it or not, the first time he did it a couple years ago, or he attempted it a couple years ago, and he said that he misjudged the weight of the vehicle and it pulled the beard out of his face. So he had.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I guess.
I have a feeling that it is painful. So he probably strengthened his beard. Every night he'd yank on it or so. I don't know what he did. So then, second record of the day, he puts a rope around his neck, and pulls a truck. Here's the truck. Look at him. He's pulling, not with his beard, but with his neck. He's pulling it. He's facing forward and pulling it. That truck weighed 17,107 pounds. He pulled that for 5 meters to set a second world record for the day. The world's heaviest vehicle pulled by the neck. After that, it was his friend who was sitting in the driver's seat. He went up and he told him, he says, "Get an automatic transmission. I'm not pull start. What did you call that? It wasn't called jump starting. When you push start the car. That's what we used to do for standard transmission. Sorry. This is an oldies show here. So so he also has a record. He also owns another record for the heaviest train ever pulled. 71,000 pounds. And you know how that happened? He was practicing pulling the truck, and they had the radio on, and he heard Grand Funk singing, "Come on, baby, do the locomotion." And he thought, I got an idea. So he did, but that wasn't red. That wasn't the third record. The third record of the day was this one right here, where he pulled with his teeth, and I don't have a picture of him with the rope in his teeth. He pulled 7 cars chained together with his teeth. Not only 7 cars, but there were 7 people, one in each car, because someone had to keep the steering wheel straight. So the cars didn't go wandering off while he was pulling them.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is some guy.
He's lucky he has his teeth.
He's lucky he has his teeth, his beard, his neck, his spine. I mean, he's lucky he has everything in life. When he was all done with setting all the records, he went to his favorite McDonald's. Not only because they give him free food, but also he has his own lane. He has a pull-through lane. So instead of driving, he just pulls a car through and they look.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
On that note, on that sports story, I think it's time for What in the World of Sports with my old buddy John Donalo. John, every week, as John knows, I ask him, John and I went to college together. We're fraternity brothers. He knows more about sports and trivia than anybody I know. So I ask him every week, John, find us a sport that fits with the theme of What in the World. Real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. And you regular listeners know every week John manages to find a weird sport. Weird does not begin to describe the sport that John has for us today. So I'll get your photos ready, John. Tell us what we're talking about.
I will, Paul, and I'll have to tell you, Karen and audience, I wholeheartedly agree with Paul. Wait till you hear this story, and wait till you hear this sport, I should say, about and the way I'm going to present it here. So our sport this week is another unique sport that you probably have never heard of. This is precisely why it is featured here on What in the World. Our sport this week is World Gravy Wrestling. Let me repeat. World Gravy Wrestling. Now, before you think that I misspoke and said something that is not accurate, there is, in fact, a sport which is called World Gravy Wrestling. Let me explain. World Gravy Wrestling is a competition where 2 wrestlers grapple in a 2-minute bout, and the wrestlers are dressed in costumes, and they will tangle with each other in a gravy-filled pool. Now, this is not a one-time occurrence. In mid-August 2023, the 15th annual World Gravy Wrestling Championship was held at the Rosen Bowl pub in Rosendale, England.
There was a key word in that statement right there that explains the origin of this sport, and that would be pub.
That's right. That's right, Paul, Karen, and audience. So the event, but the event is a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser for the East Lancashire Hospice, which supports people that have life-limiting disabilities and illnesses. So it's clearly for a good cause. And these bouts draw several hundred spectators each year. As for the scoring in this sport, the judges, at their discretion, award points for entertainment value and as well as for the wrestling that they perform. The men's event was won most recently by, get ready for this, a gentleman by the name of Raven Gravy. That's his real name. And the woman's title was won by Backup Bavarian.
Wow.
Now, so to get a personal look or more insight into this sport, Gravy wrestler Tommy Jupiter says, quote, "Once you get in there, it is a totally different beast. My opponent's eyes and ears were full of gravy, and he was completely disoriented, but somehow we got through the match." He goes on to say, "It was slippery. And he said he tried to arm drag his opponent at one point, but he slid right off. And the atmosphere was electric, and the whole event ran incredibly smoothly. So I really think, Paul and Karen and audience, this is one of those things you have to experience to appreciate.
Oh, definitely.
Now, for the record, Gravy Wrestling had a 2-year hiatus during the COVID epidemic, but has now enjoyed renewed interest and popularity among the local residents there. For the record, the wrestling ring or pool is 14 feet by 13 feet, and it's also padded to reduce the risk of injury. Also,
with what? Mashed potatoes? Hey,
that would kind of make too much sense, Paul, to have that. But so anyway, to reduce the injury is why you have those. But losers of the bouts are then gravy bombed, and they're gravy bombed in what is called the laughing stocks. So we're going back to some old English history there, where again the punishment is gravy.
Wow.
Now, World Wrestling. Wait a minute.
Happening.
World Gravy Wrestling is not only for adults, but for the entire family. Let me explain why. At these events, there are associated activities such as cheerleading, BB gun shooting, bouncy castles, face painting, and also cake and tombola stands. And yes, for some of you that need it, there are craft beer stalls.
Of course.
Well, so you can, enjoy a beverage, an adult beverage, while taking in the action. Now, for those of you wondering how do the contestants clean up, here's one for you. The local fire brigade is always there to wash the wrestlers down between bouts and at the end of the competition.
Wow.
How
So
nice.
I'll leave this with you, a little bit of a thought to ponder. All in all, World Gravy Wrestling is a great day out for everyone. No one had any beefs. No one got any mashed, and winners soaked up some bread to spend at the cleaners getting out the gravy stains.
Oh,
What
gravy
punishment.
wrestling. Wow.
What punishment. Oh my goodness. That's I don't even know what to say. Look, there were websites. We were looking at some photos of websites that are set up for World Gravy Wrestling. So if you want to do more research, perhaps even start a World Gravy Wrestling franchise in your city, check it out on the internet. Just Google World Gravy Wrestling, and you'll see all these pictures of men and women covered in gravy. Some of them getting gravy dumped on them. Some of them winning trophies. I think it's unbelievable. So, John, you're right. You're right. This has to one of the all-time weirdest sports we've had on.
It is. It's got to be for sure. Yeah.
Well, maybe your English friends in Houston would like to start one of these.
Simon, I'll have to check with him. I'll have to check with him, see if he ever participated in Gravy Wrestling. This was he may have moved to the United States by then, but he might want to sponsor it. He might want to start it up. What a great place for Gravy Wrestling. Well, Cleveland would be a great place for Gravy Wrestling as well. Now, John, I don't know if you remember this, and you and I and our fraternity never participated in Gravy Wrestling, at least that I can remember. And that's
I'm going to go out on a limb on that one too. No, I don't think we ever did that.
That's right. However, we did participate in a gravy-related sport, and I don't know if you remember this either, but we probably were drinking beer for a while, and someone came up with the great idea to participate in gravy drinking. Do you remember a gravy drinking competition?
Boy, Paul, you have to refresh my memory on this one. No, I really don't. Honestly, I don't.
Good. For me, I have some photos here. So here's So we were challenged by another fraternity. After we were all drinking, we may have run out of beer. I don't know, and then we had to switch to something else. So we got this challenge to see who could consume the most gravy. So of course John jumped right in, and here's a picture of John downing the gravy, just to show how smart John is compared to all the rest of us. He took his shirt off first, so he wouldn't have to.
Get gravy stains. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. It just proves that at one time I did have a hair and I did have a beard.
Speaking of beards, okay, then they passed the gravy to me, and I said, I don't know, this is an awfully big gulp of beer here, gravy, I mean. I'm holding the bearded gentleman who kind of maybe once resembled me is holding a boot made out of a glass filled with gravy. What happened right after that was the other fraternity brought a ringer in, and he took one look at that gravy, and it was gone.
Oh.
He was the hands down winner.
It was an unbelievable competition there. I believe, we talked about gravy drinking once on this show. It may have even been a sport, I don't know, but or a world record. In any event, great sport, John. World Gravy Wrestling.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
Always a great sport on What in the World of Sports with John Donalo. And that means it's time for Bluff, the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. I have 3 stories here, similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. Those were all true. These stories may be true, may be a bluff. And it's up to Karen, John, and those of you playing at home to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed, so place your bet. John and Karen, hands on the buzzer, and let's get right to story number 1. Very appropriate. St. Patrick's Day has come and gone for 2024, but the makers of Irish whiskeys are already planning for next year, and they finally figured out a way to compete with green beer by making green whiskey. That's right, with the popularity of flavored whiskeys already established, major Irish distillers are working on green whiskeys tinted with food coloring and flavored with mint. To compete with tequilas, some of them are putting a 4-leaf clover in the bottom of the bottle, and a couple have gone one step further, and they're putting tiny edible snakes at the bottom of the bottle. Those obviously go best with the St. Patrick Beard Chaser. Look for green Irish whiskey with little snakes in your liquor stores soon. All right, I said it. Green Irish whiskey with little snakes in the bottle. Real or bluff, Karen? What do you say?
Well, I'm not a beer drinker. I'm not a whiskey drinker. But it just sounds a little over the top, so I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Okay, Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
I agree with Karen on this one because I thought it was real or could be real. But then if you're saying snakes are in the bottom, snakes, S-N-A-K-E-S, snakes, why would you want to drink something like that? Of course, I know this is on our show, so I mean, I understand it's a realistic platform, right? Or an understandable platform. But I'm going to say I'm hoping it's a bluff. I'm going to hope it's a bluff.
Okay, Karen and John both say it's a bluff. By the way, mezcal has a worm at the bottom of it that people drink.
Right, I understand that. Right.
Yeah, a little tiny snake. But anyways, both of them say it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say congratulations to both of you. That is a bluff.
All right, Karen, way to go.
I feel better now. Yes.
I feel good too. I'm glad. My faith in humanity is restored.
There you go. I can just see, I would get sick. Just the thought of mint-flavored Irish whiskey, green Irish whiskey makes me sick. Okay, scores tied 1-1. Let's get right to story number 2. Once a person breaks a Guinness World Record, you generally never hear about them again. But Guinness has decided to change that. It has teamed up with an Italian designer to create the Guinness World Record fashion show. The models are real record holders and include the man with the most body piercings, the woman who twirls the most hula hoops, the man who can balance the most wine glasses on his head, and the woman with the longest tongue. All will show their record-breaking talents while walking down the runway in the skimpy outfits and lingerie the designer is known for. If it catches on, it will make shopping at Victoria's Secret a lot more fun. Okay, so the Guinness World Record people hiring record holders to model lingerie for an Italian designer. Real or bluff, John? What do you say?
Well, seeing how it's a question on this show, our show, I should say, yeah, I'm gonna say it's real. I'm gonna say it's real.
All right, John says it's real. Karen, how about you?
You know, I think it's a bluff because I think people are so into what their talent is, okay, that they don't have to wear, lingerie to prove it or anything like that. So bluff.
Interesting logic there, Karen. Okay, so Karen says it's a bluff. John says world record holders wearing lingerie for a fashion show is real. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, holy smoke, John was right. It is a real story.
Wow.
Well, I had a 50-50 chance of getting it correct, and I did. So
there you go.
that's, I had those kind of odds working for me, I guess. Right.
Okay.
I will look for some photos for next week. I couldn't find any. Okay, so that means the score is 2-1. John's got 2 in a row here. Karen can still catch up because points are doubled in round number 3. So let's get right to it. Let's see if Karen can pull it off. If you have teenage children, your house has probably been wrapped in toilet paper, or TP'd, as the kids call it. If you have preteens, you may miss this rite of passage for birthdays and graduations and instead be yarn bombed. That's right. The new craze starting to show up around the country is wrapping houses and trees in multicolored strands of yarn, making them look like they're wearing giant scarves or sweaters. It started as an art project in California, and a craft store saw the potential for big sales and promoted yard bombing as a clean and fun replacement for toilet papering. Creative kids can spend all night carefully mixing colors and twisting yarn into elaborate patterns that their parents hate to make them cut down, but they do after taking photos. Will it catch on? Let's just say toilet paper makers are worried. Okay, so TPing or toilet papering houses is being replaced by yarn bombing. Real or bluff, Karen? We'll start with you.
Well, to TP a house, you don't have to worry about anything. You just go get a roll of toilet paper and sling it. But this yarn thing, they got to put time and effort into it. And I don't think kids want to put time and effort into anything. So I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Whew, spoken like somebody who's a mom. So Karen says that's a bluff. John, how about you?
Well, Karen's got some great logic there, but this is 2024 and anything can happen these days. And I'm going to say that it's a true story. It's a real story.
Wow. Okay. So John says that yarn bombing is a true story. Karen says it's a bluff. John, did you ever TP a house? This is true confessions here.
No, I'm great. Yeah, I will confess a lot of confessions today on what in the world for me. Yes, but it's going to remain I will remain anonymous as to who I actually did that to. Let's leave it at that. Leave it at that.
Do you think they're listening?
Well, after all these years, they finally would catch me, right?
Okay, so once again, John says it's real. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, whoa, congratulations, Karen. That is a bluff, and that means Karen got 2 points, and she wins the game 3-2.
Wow.
Oh, very good. They're very good.
Awfully close, but so you can both go home happy anyways. And on that note, that's the end of Bluff the Co-host and the end of what in this week's edition of What in the Wednesday edition, first day of spring edition of What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our producer, our co-host, all around great person. Thank you for everything you do for us on the show. Thank you from all of the podcasters. Please go visit newclevelandradio.net. You'll find all the great podcasts that Karen produces. Especially What in the World, which she also sponsors under Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. So you need a coach, Karen's the person to see. You need a podcast, Karen's the person to see. You need money,
Don't come see me.
And as always, I my old buddy John Denalo, host of What in the World of Sports, our color commentator, our trivia guy, all around great guy. John, thanks again for all you do for the show. Hopefully you'll bring the Guardians some luck.
Yeah, thanks, Paul and Karen. And it's getting to that time of the year now, right? When we get to spring, as they say, a young man's thoughts turn to certain things in the springtime. Baseball is one of them, and I'll leave the rest up for your imagination.
Okay.
But for the rest of us thinking about whether a Lock Ness monster is a male or a female.
Well, that's and that too, exactly.
And on that note, though, we want to thank our most important part of the show, and that is all of you listening or watching or both. We really appreciate it. You're the reason why we do What in the World every week. And we will be back next week on a regularly scheduled day, Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Please join us again for some more weird, strange stories from around the world, sometimes around the universe. We'll be waiting to hear from you. And you can always contact me on Facebook. You can contact Karen through newclevelandradio.net. We love feedback, so please do all of that. And now, on that note, I think it's time for us to go, isn't it?